Hello, everybody, and welcome to what has become an annual tradition here in the Harris apartment. Something I've been doing for a number of years now. I get the Japanese language newspaper. It used to be the Daily Yomiuri, based on the Yomiuri Shimbun, the Japanese version, and now they've changed the title in recent years to The Japan News by the Yomiuri Shimbun. And so, as you can see right there, this was from Sunday, December 30th. And right here, over here with the skater, the top news of 2018. So they do this kind of thing over 2 days. One day it's the top domestic stories, which is this video, all the top news from inside Japan for the entire calendar year of 2018. And I'll make another video on another day's newspaper. They do the top international stories as seen from a Japan perspective. Insofar as the stories are voted on by people that read the newspaper. I believe both versions, the Japanese language version and the English language version, and they vote. So it's as voted by readers in Japan, which I could have voted. So you don't have to be Japanese, but you have to live in Japan, I guess, or be getting the newspaper. Okay, so it ends up being a huge double-page spread. So there you go, top domestic news stories of 2018. And it's something I normally save and pin up on the wall of my classroom, one of my classrooms, so the students can see it, and we can talk about it a little bit sometimes too. So here we go. I'm just going to go down all top 10. Should I go from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1? Let's go from 10 to 1. There we go. All right, 10. And this is going to be a recurring theme in the Japan news. Again, does it say how many people voted overall? Maybe. 19,119 votes. So there you go. And top 10 domestic news stories they were asked to pick. All right, so number 10, strong typhoon strands 8,000 at Kansai Airport. So I believe my buddy PJ in Osaka was trying to get out of the airport to go on that day or something. But on September 4th, there was a huge typhoon, and it didn't really affect me where I live in Japan, but it did hit the middle of the country, especially mid-Honshu, very hard. And the picture here is of a boat. I should do it like this so it's a little bit easier to navigate. Is of a boat that a big liner that hit this bridge, and people couldn't get back and forth to Osaka Airport, which is kind of on a man-made island, the Kansai Airport. But basically, there's going to be a story about an earthquake, this typhoon, and flooding. 3 of the top 10 stories are natural disaster type stories, and therefore the kanji of the year is the word, I can't remember it how you say it in Japanese, is the word for disaster. So people felt like that was a dominating theme in 2018. And some Americans might agree too, depending on which side of the Trump wall you're on. Okay, number 9 is a sports story. There's lots of sports stories every year. And it's Shohei Ohtani is named American League Rookie of the Year. So a lot of people are watching his progress in the American baseball leagues, Major League Baseball, and very happy with his progress. He went 4-2 as a pitcher and hit .285 with 22 homers and 10 stolen bases, earning comparisons to Babe Ruth for his prowess both at the plate and on the mound. Yeah, Babe Ruth, before he became this kind of home run hitting, amazing king of home runs, was a pitcher. And I think he can bat both sides. I think that's another thing Ohtani can do. He can bat right-handed or left-handed. So, American League Rookie of the Year. I went to a Padre game, San Diego Padre game, when I was home, and he was against the Angels. Excuse me. Just to see him, and me and my friend, we left like the Angels were winning or something, and we were like, oh, but he's not. He hasn't hit all time, and he finally did hit at the very end of the ninth inning, and we were in the parking lot. So it was a bummer that we didn't get to see him hit. I don't know if he hit successfully and got on base or not, but anyway. So all right. So that was 9. Number 8 is a long-standing story. So basically, let me give you a little background. In 1995, so that's over 20 years ago now, there was a cult, a religious cult, and I'm going to pronounce the name of the cult. AUM, I believe it's Aum Supreme Truth Cult. And basically almost like the Charles Manson, James Jones, Guyana, that whole thing. It's just a wacko guy and his followers. And they deployed sarin gas in the Tokyo subway systems by hiding canisters in trash cans, which is one of the reasons you never see trash cans in public. Lots of places in Japan. Anyway, he was caught. His followers were caught. And they finally executed him. His name was Shoko Asahara. So on July 6th, they executed... Oh, no, that was his alias. His real name is Chizuo Matsumoto. And 6 other death row inmates responsible for crimes such as a sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway. So there he is. And he finally got... They still do have the death penalty in Japan. But it took, more than 20 years of him sitting on death row before they actually did kill him. I believe somebody can leave a comment if you know differently, but I believe it's hanging in Japan. It's not lethal injection. I think the people are hung. Anyway, okay. 7, much nicer story. The Honjo... No, I was about to say the Honjo Prize. The Nobel Prize was given to a professor of medicine at Kyoto University named Tasuku Honjo. And they discovered the PD-1 molecule that regulates the immune system. So, it doesn't say how old he is, but from the picture, not a young guy, but his life's work awarded there with the Nobel Prize. All right, Japanese people love it when, and you're going to see this in another story in a minute, love it when Japanese people do something that garners them worldwide. Like if you're a filmmaker and you win the Palme d'Or at Cannes, or if you're a tennis player, hint, hint, and you win a big tournament, or in the Olympics when they do well on the international stage, or when people in Japan win Nobel Prizes for this or that. Okay, so that was 7.6. Powerful earthquake hits Hokkaido. 6.7 magnitude earthquake struck the Iburi region of Hokkaido. Maximum intensity of 7 on the Japanese seismic intensity scale was recorded in Atsuma, the first maximum intensity quake in Hokkaido history. 36 people died in the town, massive landslides, and 41 overall as a result of the disaster, and 750 were injured. So that was in September. There you see a little picture of the landslides. So there you go. The next one is kind of ongoing. It happened at the end of the year, and it's still continuing. The chairman of the board of Nissan, huge motor company here that's, I think, tied in a kind of a triumvirate with Mitsubishi Motors and Renault, the French firm. Their chairman, Carlos, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's spelt Ghosn. Gosen. I should know how to say it, but I don't. So he and another executive were arrested. Basically, it says on violating the Financial Instruments and Exchange Law. So they fired him from Nissan Motors. And now they put him in they don't put him in jail. This is the thing about Japan, is you can be held in Japan on suspicion, if you're a suspect, for up to 21 days, and you're in jail. I mean, you're in a cell, and they can, question you and everything, and you don't get, it works a lot differently here. So if you ever do something wrong or illegal in Japan, man, it can be rough. So they put him in and they kept him for the 21 days, and then they have to either charge you or release you. And then they finally did charge him with something or something, and now he still hasn't been gotten out on even on bail. Yeah, they served a fresh arrest warrant against him for suspicion of aggravated breach of trust. So I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but basically a high power figure noodling the books or doing something with his compensation, and he got caught and fired, but also could be put in jail. We're pretty serious. All right, 4, nice story. And if you guys are on my Twitter stuff, I tweeted I tweeted out a lot about this girl, young lady, during the year, and that's Naomi Osaka. So she got the historic title. And if you didn't see it, it was such a shame because it obviously blew up, especially, I'm guessing, in American media. I only saw it from my perspective, and I saw some YouTube stuff on it. Because of the way Serena acted. She was fighting Serena Williams in the final. And I have the utmost respect for Serena Williams. I think she's an amazing, amazing athlete, and her accomplishments speak for themselves. But the way she acted in that match it's tough because I think she has some merit to what she was saying, but the way she conducted herself still, and I know she'll say there's a double standard and men get away with more, blah blah blah. But that's a whole sidebar discussion. But unfortunately, her the call that was made against her, and then she destroyed her racket, and so on and so forth. And the beef that she had sort of overshadowed this amazing play by this up-and-coming young tennis player who is half Japanese and half Haitian. I want to say her father's from Haiti. But she's lived in America a long time, so she feels when you see her interviewed and stuff, she feels very American, but at the same time she has some very Japanese traits that I think endeared her to Japanese fans, like at the press conference or at how they immediately interview the winners after the U.S. Open when she won, and she kind of bowed and said, "I'm sorry that I've caused this disruption," or something like that, that she shouldn't have been apologetic at all because it wasn't her fault and she just won. And anyway, it just made people just really like her, and she seems like a really sweet girl, and I'm really going to be rooting for her in 2019. Okay, so why was it historic though? Let's see. The first Japanese Grand Slam singles champion, male or female. There you go. So Kei Nishikori, also a very good tennis player from Japan. A lot of people really like him, but he's never won one of the 4 Grand Slams. So she's the first one, and I think she'll be playing tennis for Japan at the Olympics in 2020. All right, series of scandals. Rock the sports world is number 3. What do we got? We got 3 major things. The first one is really rough, if you can see the clip of it on YouTube. Nihon University's American football team, they play American football here. Today, in fact, was the Rice Bowl. They call it the Rice Bowl, the championship game between the colleges. He made a late and dangerous tackle that injured a Kwansei Gakuin University opponent during a game on May 6th. And really egregious late hit, totally unwarranted, but he said he was kind of ordered to do it by his coach, and they found out the coach really did sort of tell him to do this thing, and he just played along. They ordered him to make the dirty play. They couldn't participate in more official games. I don't know if they got fired. It doesn't say here. I hope they did. In March, the development director of the Japan Wrestling Federation was abused of abuse of power against a female wrestler. They recognized his behavior as power harassment after conducting an investigation. So wrestling is a huge deal here. You don't even understand how much wrestling and judo and stuff, those are huge spotlight sports here during Summer Olympics. And Japanese wrestlers in both judo and regular wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, is it called that, are expected to get medals. I mean, it's huge pressure at stuff. So that's a big deal here. And then finally, the Japan Amateur Boxing Federation, the chairman stepped down after he was accused of arranging to divert government subsidies and intervening in match decisions. A little cook in the books there. So, yeah. So, ongoing scandals. All right, two. One that was close to where I live, although I didn't have to evacuate or anything like that. The third of the three natural disasters that made the list. Heavy rains inundate western Japan. So in July, torrential rain over a large part of western Honshu, and that's where I live. 220 people died. So this is serious. I mean, it's not just like, oh, it's really raining outside. I mean, this is a big deal. And more deaths reported in the aftermath. The worst loss of life from heavy rains since the start of the Heisei era in 1989. Basically, like rivers overflowed and people's houses got flooded. A lot of the deaths, unfortunately, were either children or elderly people who couldn't withstand, the surging waters and got swept away and drowned. Elderly people especially susceptible. They go outside to check on something or whatever, and then they're just too weak. 50,000 houses were destroyed or damaged throughout Japan, with Okayama, Hiroshima, and Ehime prefectures accounting for more than 6,000 destroyed homes. So yeah, just people lost a lot. People lost everything, or their house was really flooded and stuff like that. One of the teachers that I worked with commutes from far away, and she just sent me a very nice New Year's message. She had left last March when we transitioned to new teachers in April, and we worked together, and she was really nice, and she sent me a nice message. So now it's been, 9 months since I really talked to her, and she was one of the people hit by this. She was telling me in her email about how she was without drinking water, and her house was totally flooded and everything. I didn't even know any of this. But now she's doing better, et cetera, et cetera. 8.6 million people had to evacuate their homes and et cetera. So it was a big deal here. Definitely a huge story here in Japan. Okay, and the last one, on a more positive note, Olympic medal haul steals the show in 2018. So there, Japan captures record 13 medals at Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. So I think especially if you watch any Japan-based vlogging channel, I'm sure people are talking about the Tokyo Olympics. I talk about it a lot on my sumo channel, just mentioning different things the country is doing to gear up to host the games in 2020 in Tokyo, the Summer Games. And this was kind of like a ramp up. It's obviously the Winter Games. It's totally different athletes and events, but we wanted to make a good showing and sort of, it's like starting to build. Next year in 2019, no, not next year anymore. God, it is 2019. Happy New Year. This year in 2019, in the summer, we, as in Japan, is hosting the Rugby World Cup. Much smaller scale thing, but it's a good ramp up, I think. They do need volunteers, and there's obviously going to be people from a lot of English-speaking countries coming to Japan. Unfortunately, nowhere near me. I wish my students could go out and get involved and maybe stand outside the stadium and hold up signs like, "Do you need help? We speak English." It would be a great opportunity. But the closest stadium to where I live that they're playing is Fukuoka. And then, of course, a lot of it's in Tokyo or Osaka or Sendai. And so it's just too far away from where we are to volunteer or go participate. But anyway, the Rugby World Cup coming up. The Winter Olympics, though, from this year, 13 medals. So 4 golds, 5 silvers, and 4 bronzes. The haul was the most ever for Japan at a Winter Olympics, topping the previous record of 10 at the Nagano Games, the games they had here in Japan in the city of Nagano in 1998. So nearly 80% of the people that voted this as the top story of the year. So Yuzuru Hanru, who's kind of now a legendary figure in Japan, he won the gold for men's figure skating. They also had a gold medal in the 500 meters and silver in the 1,000 meters by a woman named Naoko Daira. Um, and women's pursuit, they got their first ever curling medal. So not always some of maybe the same sports that you're watching in other parts of the country, or in other, I mean, not other parts of the country, other parts of the world. But we have our little niches here in Japan where we do fairly well in certain winter sports, and we got 13 medals, so that was huge. So I really hope we do well in the 2020 Olympics, and I hope the country comes off well, and we're ready and prepared for all these people. Anyway, that was the top domestic news stories of 2018. And so let me know if you're surprised by something, or put down a comment. I always like this to find out, if you're an American, I kind of keep up with what's going on in America. But if you're from somewhere else, maybe list the top 3 or 4 news stories from your country. I'm from Sweden. I'm from the UK. I'm from Australia. I'm from the Philippines. And tell me what was a big deal in your country. Give me a few in the comments. I love to read that and find out what's going on in other parts of the world. And I will be back maybe tomorrow or the next day, and I will post the top international stories, as I said, from the perspective of the Japanese voters in the newspaper, and so you can see kind of what was important to us here looking outside of Japan. Okay, peace. Thanks for watching, guys.